Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So if you didn't catch the first episode of the series, we basically just went through our roster and our plans for this team, because this is kind of like a series like no other that I've done, where this team could make the playoffs easily in the first few years and then start to fall off, because normally I always do rebuilders, so this is going to be a little bit of uncharted territory for me. But yeah, basically we went over our plans, which basically our plans are going to be the following things, which is basically we are going to try and be competitive for the first 2 to 3 seasons till like Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers contracts are basically over. And then if we have not won a Stanley Cup by then, maybe we decide to start tearing it down at that point in time, just because obviously we want to have the best team as possible and we want to win when we have our best team. And obviously we don't think it makes really much sense, obviously, to kind of just go back into rebuild right away, because of the fact that Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck got long-term extensions recently. So yeah, we're going to try and obviously win the Stanley Cup this season or next season, or even I guess the season after that too, because Kyle Connor is still signed for 3 years. And then when it comes to the point where he's a pending free agent, then we could kind of make up our mind if we want to go the rebuilding route. We might hold on to Kyle Connor still and Nikolai Ehlers, but guys like Mark Scheifele might be on his way out. Like, we might start kind of tearing down the core a little bit, and obviously trying to get higher up picks and all that to help develop our team into having a very solid future roster. So that's basically what my plans are, is to just be competitive for the first 2 to 3 seasons, try and win a Stanley Cup in that period. If we do not, then we'll start to tear it down and go back into a rebuild territory, which I think should be a lot of fun. But anyways, we do have a lot of comments I have to get over, so let's get to those before we get into anything else. So the first comment, it's a little bit of a long one, from Cody Smith 73. He says, there's a core here, but all the pieces are on shippable contracts and you have very little in the cupboards in regards to prospects. In my opinion, the biggest need is something on that right wing, and you have an excess of NHL ready D-men. The guys that look the most flippable are Stanley, 25, likely done growing for the most part, RFA for another year, but Heinola is young and better. And then your choice of Dillon, DeMello, Schmidt, or Schmidt. Either one helps you free up cap space too. To maybe think about a coveted right wing free agent and unsigned, and likely looking to join the team going on a cup run. One, Patrick Kane. If you're going all in, is making plans for 88 on the table. The other area that needs some cleanup is centers. Are Gustafsson and Kupari NHL ready? Is Adam Lowry worth keeping around with Velarde and Perfetti already there? Was an option for a 2 to 3C. And does having Lambert and Lucius make Velarde expendable instead of Lowry for an all-in move? Like maybe a top right D to pair with Morrissey, allowing Pionk to slide down to be the anchor of the second unit. Guys that come into mind are John Carlson and Seth Jones as plausibles, or maybe bringing back an old Jet in Jacob Trouba. At least that's how I view this club currently, and I'm excited to fully commit to watching your vids this year. Also always jealous of, as a PS5 owner, of your rosters and the creativity you come up for these things. So thank you for that, Cody. That's a very long comment, but basically the gist of what he's saying is we do have a plethora of defensemen, and we kind of need a good right wingers, and obviously Patrick Kane would be that type of guy. Now, I don't really know if I would want Patrick Kane, to be honest, on this team, especially with our cap situation, but maybe that's something we look into in the offseason if he's a free agent still at that point in time. But you definitely could see we do need to eventually think about flipping away a defenseman, because we have just way too much of them, and also we would like to get Heinola into our lineup, so that's a very important thing for this team to do. But yeah, he was listing like guys like maybe even moving out somebody like Velarde if he's not in the full-time picture in the future. So there's a lot of question marks like I have with this team, but I'm hoping that we could at least win early on. That way when we go into rebuild territory, we could pretty much fire sell everybody that we don't want, except for obviously the core future guys like Cole Perfetti, for example. The next comment is from Cam Popplestone, who said, I'd flip Dillon at the start of the season if you could at least get a second for him, given that he's 32 in the final season of his deal. I'd stick with DeMille at least until the deadline, but I'd flip Dillon now since he's older and you're less likely to re-sign him, and you could always use the picks from trading him to add at the deadline if you want to. So I think definitely that will be the best course of action for our team to start this franchise mode, is flipping away Brendan Dillon, seeing if we could get like a second round pick or like a good prospect in for him. If we get like a pick in for him though, we could use that in a deal with like DeMello to upgrade our top 4 in the trade deadline, depending on how this team's doing at that point in time. That'll also give Nate Schmidt a little bit more ice time for now. But once again, Nate Schmidt is probably one of these guys that eventually gets flipped as well, because he is signed for that extra year on top of this year. And then, yeah, we still have decisions on like guys like Logan Stanley and Sandberg. Like Cody was saying before, though, we could easily flip one of them away since they both have RFA status if we want to, and that way we could get somebody like Ville Heinola into the lineup as well. The next comment is from Saturn Otaku, who says, I agree that you should make an all-in push for the first couple seasons. I think it might help bolster your defensive core a bit by seeing if you can move out Dillon and or DeMello, plus a pick or 2 for a top 4 player with a higher overall rating, assuming you're in a playoff position either halfway through the season or at the trade deadline. So basically the exact same type of thing as everybody else is saying, is to flip away somebody like Dillon or DeMello, and that way we could try and upgrade that top 4 a little bit. I think moving out Dillon would probably be the better option, just because like Cody was saying, he is a little bit older, and I think obviously moving an older guy would make a lot more sense than the younger guy by a little bit. So, and I do like Dylan DeMello a little bit better than Dillon, to be honest, because DeMello is kind of like a really good shutdown defenseman, at least analytically he was. Brendan Dillon, on the other hand, doesn't really do much. I'm pretty certain on that. The next comment is from Pens Gaming 7, who says, definitely sim first to see how you do. You could either go either way with this team, to be honest. Also have to make some decisions on the core, because the Jets core has been in question by many people. And yeah, that's basically how I'm seeing it as well, because the core of players, like, that's why I was thinking of eventually trading away guys like Scheifele, Hellebuck, and then maybe even flipping away like somebody like Nick Ehlers or Kyle Connor. But I think I want to have Kyle Connor or Ehlers or both of them here for the long time, because I think those are good guys to build around still, but I don't know for how much longer. Obviously Cole Perfetti is the main future of this team. So the next comment is from Yo-Yo What's Up. He says, glad to see the Jets have some love. I would trade Nate Schmidt because of his $6 million cap space. I would sign Perfetti as soon as possible, as he's a core piece of our franchise for the rest of the franchise. Also, in a couple years, we could definitely trade for a superstar like Jack Eichel for Scheifele. Excited for the franchise. Record prediction 42, 32, and 8. So I don't think we're going to necessarily trade Scheifele straight up for a guy that's doing really well and Vegas wouldn't want to move on from. When we get to the point of actually trading Mark Scheifele, it's likely going to be for prospects and picks, because I'm going to actually want to go into a rebuild territory, not really a retool where we just bring in a younger player that's in the same type of role. We want to kind of bring in prospects and picks and kind of tear down, so to speak, so we could kind of start fresh with this team. The next comment is from Flame Husky, who says, I have a suggestion for a rule that can make the series more interesting. If a UFA player does not want to sign with your team, you must let him walk to free agency. For RFAs who refuse to sign with you, you only get one shot to get him signed. If they refuse that offer, then it's trade time. For the Jets, I'd obviously aim for a playoff spot. I've seen Scheifele and Connor put up good numbers in my own sims, so holding on to these guys is a must. Goalies are a mixed bag, so I don't know about Hellebuck. If he gets it done, then keep him. And I don't really want that rule intact that you were mentioning about guys not wanting to re-sign, because I get that it's realistic, but at the same time, it just makes franchise mode a bit too complex for me. So, like, by that logic, we would have to let go of Niederreiter and DeMello right now, and then we'd only have one chance to sign all these guys, which I don't really agree with. So I don't think I'm going to do that yet, because I don't feel comfortable with my negotiation skill that I'd be able to get these guys in. And then the last and final comment is from Shankly Mania, who says, finally, let's go. Are you really cleaning the closet as a full rebuild, or are you planning to include an option to only retool around a few elite guys Jets have at the moment? Would like to see the latter, honestly. Otherwise, we'll have another Draft to Glory series here. Maybe draft a new Solani and go from there. Come on, Jets. So this series, I think, like I said, for the most part, at the moment, it is going to be pretty much like a contending series, and then we're going to go into rebuild. I think there might be still some people intact from this roster when we actually go through the rebuilding territory, but those might be guys like Cole Perfetti only and stuff like that. Maybe Kyle Connor, maybe Nick Ehlers, but I don't think holding on to somebody like Mark Scheifele is going to make much sense for our team at this point. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting scenario for our team when we get to actually having to tear things down a little bit to see who ends up staying here and who doesn't. And yeah, that's basically the comments I got in last episode. So let's see what happens. First, though, let's give Cole Perfetti maybe an extension already. Ooh. Okay, he's already asking for a lot more money than I was expecting. Yeah, I can kind of see what you guys mean. 6.5 though for 8 years. If I did the 85% trick already, I might honestly just give him an 8-year deal because of his elite potential. Let me open up my calculator and see what that would come to. Because obviously we don't have a lot of cap space to work with, so locking up him right now would be probably important. So let's try and do that already because I think he's the type of player we're going to build this team around down the road. So let's see, 6.525 times 0.85. We might be able to get him on an 8-year deal at like this price point, 5.55. I know it's a little bit risky doing something like this early on, but we need Perfetti here for the entire series. He's definitely the future of this team. The other guys, not so much. And obviously that's going to get pretty expensive starting next season in a way, but we are going to be freeing up cap space by moving out Brendan Dillon probably, and also probably guys like DeMello leaving this team, Nate Schmidt maybe getting dealt in the offseason depending on things. I think we're in a good spot by doing that. So basically, we also need to trade away Dillon before the start of the season, so we'd be running Morrissey, Pionk, DeMello, and Schmidt, and then Stanley and Sandberg. Probably Sandberg would be depth, to be honest. Yeah, Sandberg will probably be a depth defenseman for us, and we'll call up Ville Heinola to play on the top 6 with Logan Stanley. I think that's how we'll run it. So let's see what we could get for Brendan Dillon here early in the season. Normally I don't make trades before the season actually starts, but we'll see if there's a pick option out there for Brendan Dillon, if any team actually likes him. Let's see. Okay, so there's a couple offers. So Arizona wants to give us Josh Brown, which would save us cap space for the year, and we would get a 3rd round pick. I don't really want that, to be honest. Josh Brown in the 6th. I don't know how that makes sense. So the 6th rounder from Arizona has the same value as the Rangers' 3rd rounder for future years, or this season, I think. Or 2 seasons from now. That's kind of weird. Oh well. A 3rd and a 5th from the Boston Bruins. Okay, that's not bad. 4th and a 5th from Chicago. A 3rd and a 6th from Nashville. 4th and a 5th from Philadelphia. Kyle Burrows. I think we got to do the one from Boston. I think that one's probably the best. We get a 3rd rounder. We get a 5th rounder. We use those to potentially add to another player like DeMello at the deadline to upgrade our top 4 potentially. So yeah, we're going to send Brendan Dillon to the Boston Bruins before he even plays a game in the series. So, best of luck to Brendan Dillon in Boston. And there we go. We have made our first trade in this series, and I think that will help us out a little bit. And like I said, it'll get Ville Heinola into our lineup, and we'll see what he could do. Let's just go best lines for a second, and we'll adjust them after the fact. Okay, so a trade to shake up the start of the season, because obviously we got to do some things to hopefully sway this team into being a playoff team. What do we want to do in terms of this? I don't want Perfetti on the 4th line, to be honest. Lowry's pretty good at faceoffs. Velarde, not as much. I'm going to move Velarde to the right side, put Lowry on the 2nd line, and move Perfetti to the 3rd line, and then Mason Appleton will be, I think, our 4th line center. Actually, no, it might be Morgan Barron instead because he could actually win faceoffs better. We actually have a lot of guys that can win faceoffs, like a lot of left wing / centers, which is nice. Gives it a little bit more flexibility. Trying to think of if there's anything else we want to do in terms of readjusting this lineup a bit. What if I put Ehlers up there? I know that Kyle Connor's technically not a right winger, but him on his offside might be nice. Yeah, I think we'll go with something like this. So Ehlers, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, Lowry, Niederreiter, Iafallo, Perfetti, and Gustafsson. Gustafsson's actually pretty good at faceoffs too. Actually, maybe I should put Gustafsson as the 4th line center instead. And Barron could go to the 4th line probably. It doesn't really matter, I feel like, at this stage. Yeah, let's just keep it like this. As long as Perfetti's getting good ice time, I'm okay with that. Defensively, the first pairing doesn't have good chemistry. So we will split up Morrissey and Pionk. I will take Sandberg out of the lineup for Ville Heinola. because we need to get him developed a little bit. And also power play wise, I think I want to put Perfetti on the power play if he's not already. But there's not really anybody I would take off this power play unit is the thing. Oh, he is already on the power play. Okay, that's good. That's good. I don't know if I would take any of these guys off the power play or not. Let's just keep it the way it is. See what happens with this team. But I think this is what our team's going to look like for the start of year number 1. I don't like our center depth. I think that's another thing that we could look at potentially upgrading is our center depth. Obviously, if Perfetti gets a lot of growth this year, though, he could potentially jump to being a second-line center. But yeah, there's our team for the start of year 1. Let's get into simulating. I don't know if we're going to do 41 games or not. It depends really on how this team does. Like, if we're doing absolutely terrible in our first, like, say, 25 games, maybe we stop it at that point just to see if we want to make any trades for next episode or not. But there you go. Perfetti's already assigned his 8-year extension, so I know it's a little bit early to give a guy like that an 8-year extension. But like I said, he is the main future of this team, alongside whoever we end up drafting as well. So 4-1-2 in the preseason, not too bad. Who was the best player? Mark Scheifele, okay. Not too bad on that front. Let's get to the start of the regular season where it actually starts to matter. Hopefully we can get off to a good start this year. It seems weird trying to contend right out of the gate because, like I said, I'm used to rebuilding series where I'm not good at the beginning. But this is our first kind of like contending series, and then we kind of fall off a little bit probably at some point. But let's see how we do in our first month of action as we lose our first game to the Flames, but we do beat Florida. We're already going to trade off for 2 second-rounders of our own to Nashville and a low backup, which is DiVincenzo's. Somebody that we don't really need too much for 2 second-rounders. Those second-rounders might be higher up than our second-rounders, to be honest. But DiVincenzo, I don't think is going to really even pan out. I would honestly think about doing something like that, but it's basically like a pick swap. But our second-rounder from Montreal might be actually pretty high up. So we'd be getting our own second-rounder back from Nashville, which is kind of funny, which is kind of weird. So I'm not going to do this deal basically just because Montreal's second-rounder, I think, is going to be a very early second-round pick. So we're getting a lot of offers out of the gate. Oli Mata for a 4th and a 5th. No, thank you. Not trying to add Oli Mata of all people. We lost 8-1 to the LA Kings, but then we shut out the Vegas Golden Knights. What the hell? A little bit inconsistent to start off with. And now Montreal wants to give us their 3rd-rounder next year. A 3rd-rounder from the Canucks for 2 3rd-rounders in DiVincenzo. I don't know why this guy's getting valued or getting interest from other teams, but oh well. Some of these offers are kind of neat. A 3rd-round pick for a 6th, a 7th, and a low backup. Well, that might be a no-brainer to take. Because I know that DiVincenzo has technically some potential, and he might be a future backup goalie for us down the road. I don't think this guy pans out. He's a 65 at 19, which is not really that bad, but he doesn't have great potential. And we offload him with a 6th and a 7th, which are probably going to be late round picks as long as we're trying to contend. We get a 3rd-rounder that we could end up using to hopefully bolster our defensive core to get us a better player at the trade deadline for the playoffs. So I think I'm going to do this trade even though the Flames are off to a good start this year. I think this is a no-brainer to take because obviously we're just not really giving up much value to get ourselves a 3rd-round pick. And like I said, I could just use that as a deadline deal asset. So let's do that trade. So DiVincenzo is gone. I know it's a goalie prospect, but he's not going to really develop probably into being much. And we're 3-6 in our first 9 games. That's not ideal. Might have to make some line adjustments. Mark Scheifele's only got 1 goal in his first 8 or 9 games of the year. That's not a great sign. That is not a great sign. Maybe I'll split up Ehlers and Connor, because maybe it's not good having all those guys on one line. So let's try and rework this a little bit. Let's go with Velarde on the top line with Scheifele and Connor. Instead, Ehlers could play with Lowry and Niederreiter. We could always swap Perfetti and Lowry if we want to, but not yet. Yeah, I think this looks fine. How's Heinola doing out of curiosity? -3, no points. Yikes. Not really much I could do to get him more ice time at the moment. Connor Hellebuyck has had a good save percentage, but his goals against isn't that great. Oh, Laurent Brossoit has been tragic as a backup right now. That's not great. We are scratching Kupari, I just realized. So do we want to put Kupari in instead of somebody like Vlad Nemesnikov? I think we do. So I'm going to take Nemesnikov out. And we are going to throw in the youngster and Kupari, because I don't like to scratch my young guys that often. I'd rather scratch somebody like Nemesnikov, to be honest. So we'll see if Kupari being in the lineup in that shake-up in the top 6 could help us out a little bit. But yeah, this is not the best start that we wanted, especially to a team that should be getting into the playoffs this year. So hopefully we can have a better month this next month. Like I said, I don't know if I'll go to game 41 because I want to kind of see how we do in this early going. So let's go to the 1st of December, see if we could have a better month here. And we win our first game in a month against Vegas and Arizona, and then we beat St. Louis. Okay. Now we're starting to get back to 500 again, as Logan Stanley has been injured with a bruised hand, so we'll go replace player. That will put in Sandberg. And now Gabe Vilardi has suffered a concussion. Oh boy. Now we're getting slapped with the injury train. Let's just go replace player on that, but that's not great. Losing a guy in your top 6, and now we lose Mason Appleton. I swear, when the injury bug hits, you literally lose almost everybody on your team. So we're going to have to call up somebody from the AHL, which I guess is going to be Axel Jonsson-Fjallby. He's going to probably just stay up here as a depth option in our NHL team, to be honest. Just because that way he could actually be put into the lineup when there's an injury. Like we did have that extra roster space. So let's put in Jonsson-Fjallby. He'll be up here. And yeah, we have 3 injuries, all within like a couple days span. I honestly hate it when this game does this type of thing. We do actually have a lot of scratch guys. I didn't even realize that I maybe should have put into the lineup. That guy doesn't matter. Bauer doesn't really matter too much. Dmitry Kuzmin should probably be playing, same as Zhilikin. There's way too much prospects down here. Thomas Milic should be playing. So I'll take Colin Delia out of the lineup. Try and put in our younger guys, because we want to get some development down there. Sautner, will take you out for Kuzmin. Who is the other guys that need to be put in? Salamonson needs to be in. Wow, there's so much guys down there. Let me see. You don't really matter too much. You probably don't either. So the only one left is Danny Zhilikin. Just want to make sure our young guys are getting the best opportunity possible. I do want Brad Lambert a little bit higher in the lineup, to be honest. So we're going to swap him and Nick Kanan. And we will get... we'll get Zhilikin in on like a wing or something like that for now. There we go. Just to get some prospects into the lineup down there in Manitoba. And that is good. Let's see how we do with all these injuries. Is now we have players being back. Okay. I hate these injuries in this game. Like, sometimes it's okay to have these injuries, but like then after a while you just get slapped with multiple, and it's super tedious having to go into the edit line so many times. Appleton will be back soon. Vilardi's still out for a little bit longer, so that kind of sucks. That game, wow, 7-1 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's pretty impressive. We are definitely doing better than we were before, so that's nice. Jonsson-Fjallby needs to come out, I think, for Mason Appleton, so we'll do that. Perfect. And now I need to stop the sim so I can actually see what's going on. We're actually winning a lot more games this month, so that's a really good sign. So maybe we just needed to split up that top line a little bit. Yeah, I think that definitely was the case, because we were below 500, and now this month we are 15-7 now. We only lost 1 game this entire month, and that was against the Nashville Predators, who are below 500, oddly enough. But 15-7 has us as the 2nd best team in our division, so we're doing good so far. That's actually exactly what we kind of want. And Kyle Connor's starting to go off too with 29 points through 22 games. So let's go 1 more month and see if we're still on that good trajectory. Then we'll kind of look at the trading block and all that type of thing, see what's out there to see if we want to bring anything in to help our team out a little bit. Torgerson got injured. Let's just go replace player. And then we'll throw him back in afterwards. Ooh. Okay, this is an interesting offer, but I don't know if I really need him. This might be the type of offer you guys have to let me know about. A 3rd and a 4th round pick to Buffalo for Victor Olofsson. Victor Olofsson's not that bad of a player. He is a pending free agent. We don't have a lot of cap space. That's one problem. But, oh, he's not doing too well so far. 14 points only. He's an 83, but listed as a 2nd liner. I don't really know if he's what we need, to be honest, but He wouldn't be that bad, especially for only a third and a fourth round pick. Like, that's not super high valued. So that might be an interesting offer we come back to in next episode, depending if Buffalo still has him on the block at that point. Jeff Malot's the one that needs to come out for Torgerson. Where is Daniel Torgerson? There he is. Perfect. Let's see if we can get some more wins here. But yeah, we're off to a good start this season. Oh man, I need to stop the sim because it's stuck with the AHL calendar. I hate when it glitches out like that too. Yeah, we're still getting points, which is good. Seems really weird, like I said, trying to contend right now because I'm used to just wanting to blow shit up, basically. Oh no, Vilianianola has sprained his ankle. Well, that's not great, considering we're trying to develop him into being a top 4 defenseman for us at some point. A lot of AHL injuries too. Not the ones that I care about too much, as Velarde has returned. Let's go, Velarde. We'll get you in instead of Vlad Nemesnikov, who probably is doing really well because he's playing with the top line, but we'll get Velarde back into the lineup. There we go. And continue assimilating this last little bit of the month. There's another win over Chicago as Heinola has returned. So at least he wasn't out too long term, because that would not have been great. Sandberg will come out, and in will come Ville Heinola. Hopefully we're getting good production from a lot of our guys. Tony Nato doesn't matter too much. He's the AHL anyways, so I'm just going to leave it. Kupari has now been injured with a sprained ankle. Geez, apparently sprained ankles are contagious on this team. Let's just go replace player. Chisholm doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. And there we go, 23-10-2. That's pretty damn good. We're in a pretty good spot to obviously stop simulating in this episode. Kyle Connor over point per game still. And yeah, we're in a playoff spot at the moment, which is great too. So last playoff spot has 38 points. We're 10 points up on that. So I think we definitely need to start adding. I definitely think we need to do that. So let's take a look at our player stats and team stats so far at this point in the season. And then obviously we'll look at the trading block, see what we can do to address our team a little bit. We're currently the 3rd best team in the NHL. So despite our slow start, we have cooked a lot since. We are the 2nd best offensive team, only behind the Colorado Avalanche. And goals against per game wise, we're the 4th best defensive team. Pretty good. Power play percentage wise, we are currently 3rd. And penalty kill percentage is not good. So our penalty kill has been tragic, but our defense has been okay. So that's kind of interesting. So maybe we look at addressing our penalty kill a little bit. Or maybe once we bring in a better defenseman for the top 4, that will help out. 3 shorthanded goals, 13-6 on home ice, and 10-4-2 on the road. Let's see what our players are doing so far at this point. So if we go to centers, Scheifele's been pretty good, almost point per game. Cole Perfetti has been great. Wow. Okay, was not expecting him to be up there yet. Up to an 83. He's already actually listed as a second liner, so I might have to demote Adam Lowry. Yeah, I might have to demote Adam Lowry to the 3rd line center, even though he's been great too. Yeah, our power play has been clicking at a large margin right now. Yeah, I'm glad I already got Perfetti on that 8-year deal, because with the way he's producing right now, he's definitely going to be the core guy for this team. Mason Appleton's been actually pretty solid too. He's still got 1 more year left, which is kind of nice. Gabe Velarde has missed a lot of time due to injury, but he's almost point per game, so at least he's been okay. But only 2 goals in 19 games. I don't know. I want to hold on to him as long as possible, kind of, but I don't know how long-term of the picture he's in for this team. Kupari's been okay as well, 9 points and a +6, so I think he's ready to take that 4th line step at the moment, it seems like. David Gustafson's been pretty solid too, because he's got good +-. Looks like we're a very, disciplined team, because our centers aren't taking a lot of penalties, which is kind of nice. Left wing wise, Kyle Connor's been obviously great with 42 points. Ehlers has been pretty good too, 27, 21 from Iafallo, 15 from Nemesnikov from playing on the top line. Only 2 goals, but 15 points is pretty good. Morgan Barron, 12 points, and Fialbi's over point per game as a depth option. Scored on his only shot on goal, so yeah, our team is doing pretty good. And like I said, the discipline seems to be pretty good with this team, which is nice. And Niederreiter's got 20 points as well as a pending free agent. What about defensively? Morrissey's been great. He's 1 point over point per game, so he's obviously our best defenseman still. Neil Pionk is doing really well as well. And then it kind of gets a little bit up in the air with offense a little bit. Like Nate Schmidt is not really great. I definitely think he would be one of these guys we look to upgrade. It's either him or DeMello. DeMello's been better defensively, to be honest. So I would probably lean to Schmidt, but Schmidt's probably got negative value in a way because of that contract. Heinola's been really good defensively in 33 games, plus 15. That's exactly what you want from this young man. And yeah, hopefully he can find his offensive game too. Logan Stanley's been okay as well. A little bit more aggressive than other players on the team. And Sandberg has been okay, but hasn't barely played. And goaltending has been good from Hellebuck, and Brossoit has found himself as the backup now after his really bad start. He's got a .920 save percentage. Okay, so everything seems to be looking pretty good with this team right now, but obviously we could still upgrade the defensive core to help give us a push, because once we get to the playoff time, who knows how far this team actually will get. So I think defenseman is probably the main thing that we might want to change up, like you guys were mentioning. So let me actually go ahead to edit lines here quickly, and I am going to swap Perfetti and Lowry for next episode already, just because Perfetti has been great. And we are going to already start looking for potential trade assets for next episode. So let's take a look at the trading block and see if there's anything that could help us out defensively on our defensive core. So Robert Hagg is not really something that I will have in mind. We're trying to upgrade our top four, so we might want to look for somebody better than that. Silverberg's on the block, but I don't think we need forwards really. Josh Brown, Zach Sanford, not really interested in any of those guys. Jeremy Swayman's on the block, but we don't need goaltending. There is good prospects, obviously, but we're not trying to rebuild yet, so Fabian Lascelles not somebody I want. Eric Johnson for the top four. I don't know if he's actually that good, to be honest. Connor Clifton, he's got a little bit too much turn for my liking. There is still Victor Olofsson if we want to bring in more forwards, but I don't know about that. Chris Tanev. Chris Tanev is a great DFD, and he is a right-handed defenseman. If we were to upgrade DeMello, Chris Tanev would be a great player for that top four probably, but I don't know if he's what I want. Mackenzie Weegar is a great one too. I don't know why he's on the block, if it's because of the long-term contract that he signed, but Mackenzie Weegar is a great defenseman. He's a plus 20 this season, but it's just he's signed long-term. And we don't really have the cap space, but Mackenzie Weegar would be great. There's also Edler and Zadorov as cheaper options. Nazem Kadri for offense. There's actually a lot more on the block than I thought there would be. Let's see. Anything else intriguing for our defensive core? Good Branson, no thank you, especially at that $4 million. Don't really need that. Because I think our offense is fine. It's just defense, just to play it safe. Jeff Petrie on 2 years left. I don't know. He's injured currently, apparently. But he's been not that great so far offensively. Shane Gostisbehere on 1 year left. That might be intriguing. I don't know what we'd have to give up to get somebody like Gostisbehere. David Perron's there as well. JT Comfort, Andrew Kopp. A lot of players on the block this year. So at least you guys will have a lot to talk about in the comments for what we could potentially go after. Spencer Knight on the block is interesting too, but goaltending is not something we need to address right now with Hellebuck signed long term. So Philippe Deneau, Victor Arvidsson, Matt Waugh would not be bad either for our top four, but I don't really know if he's much of an upgrade. So we want to have somebody that's maybe more of an upgrade. There's a lot of goalies on the block, it seems like, which is kind of weird. Luke Shen, not really an upgrade. Tyson Berry to bring some offense from the back end. I don't know. Ryan McDonough, but 3 years left. I don't like that. If that was a 1 year left deal, I would probably look at Ryan McDonough, because this guy's been a great defenseman for a long time. There is way more than I thought there would be on the block. Oh my goodness. Because I honestly don't know where to even start in terms of what we should bring in on the defensive side of things. A lot of prospects too. Most of these guys aren't going to pan out though. Nothing really there. Nick Bugstad, Joel Blomqvist, I think his name is. Yeah, at least there's a couple good defenders out there, so there is options for us to upgrade the core a little bit. Nick Leddy, but 3 years left. Justin Falk, but 4 years left. Torrey Krug, 4 years left. No, thank you. Anthony Cirelli was put on the block by Tampa. That's actually a major surprise. He's only 26. If I was looking to rebuild this team right now, Cirelli would be great, but I'm not looking to rebuild right now, so we're looking to contend at least for a few years. Anything else intriguing? Logan Thompson put on the block by Vegas. I know Paul in my Discord will not like that. Anything else? No. What would it take to get somebody like Curiosity? Like, let's just say best case scenario, we bring in Mackenzie Weegar, even though he's signed for a very, very long time. What would be the asking price for somebody like as elite as Mackenzie Weegar is? No trades found. What about somebody like Chris Tanev? The asking price for somebody like Chris Tanev would be like a prospect like Knaziev, a 4th and a 5th, which is not bad. I wouldn't really want to give up on Colby Barlow yet. And in a 2nd rounder, Torgerson and as low 7th and Johansson. Yeah, I would probably do this Knaziev deal, to be honest, if we wanted to bring in somebody on a 1-year deal like Tanev. But we would probably have to look at some other players to flip away and stuff like that. Like if we were to move Dillon DeMello, let me just add our pick as well. So if we added, say, like, if we added like our 3rd rounder this year, and if we added, actually we need to go to our players as well. If we go to Dillon DeMello, what could we get for those 2 assets? Not really much. We could get Tyson Barrie straight up. Simeon Varlamov, Nick Paul. 2 long-term of contracts. Sorry, Nick. The one for Tyson Barrie is not bad, but I don't really know if he's much of an upgrade. He's more of a defensive liability too, so that's a little bit of a risk. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we will basically simulate the rest of year number 1, I think. Maybe not all the rest of year number 1, depends on how long the trade deadline takes, but we'll definitely have the trade deadline. We'll try to add a few pieces to make this team into being a full-on cup contender. We're off to a great start now. Might as well keep adding and seeing if we could take this team to the next level in the playoffs and hopefully get a cup here early on maybe, and then afterwards we could kind of lean back a little bit, draft some good prospects, and start the rebuild a little bit. So let us know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.